All right, guys, today we are back at Reeves Timber because I needed to return the Halverson HWP 100, but I figured while I was here, if they got the time, have them show me what a real firewood yard looks like. Roy told me they do 2,000 to 3,000 cords a year, which is about 100 times what I do lately. And this is the kind of operation that I think many of us can learn from and make some observations about how they run their business of this size. So let's take a look. All right, so we just watched the Multi-Tech run a little bit. Which model is this, Roy?
This is a 2016 model 2025 Multi-Tech with the 48-inch circle saw and a 30-foot conveyor.
And I didn't even look. What's on there? An 8-way wedge?
It is.
Is that the biggest wedge y'all have?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So about how many cords an hour are you producing on this machine?
This truck will hold over 3 cords, and Ricky here can load it in an hour or less than an hour.
Wow.
With all the licks. So, yeah.
And I guess if you're doing that, you probably have somebody else out here loading logs.
No, he'll do it himself.
Oh, you'll do 3 cords an hour loading it yourself?
He can, because you have to fill the deck up twice. 2 full decks will load the truck.
Really? Yeah. So this machine, we notice, is electric. And is there a particular reason why you chose that over diesel?
I did, yeah. I just figured it'd be more efficient because we have high voltage 3-phase already here at the shop. Didn't take a whole lot to hook it up, and plus don't have to burn diesel fuel, don't even have to check for fuel, you don't have to check engine oil, you don't have to worry about coolant for the motor. Only thing you really have to check is the hydraulic oil in it. You don't have to wait for it to warm up, and of course in the wintertime is when you run it the most. You don't have to wait for it to warm up. You turn the key on, he goes straight to work.
That's right. All right, so we'll do like maybe a walk around of the wood yard here and show kind of the different spots. But I was most curious over here. Obviously, to run a machine like this, you need a lot of logs. So you've got a pile here, a pile behind me. So tell me a little bit about how you manage this area up here, and then of course where do the logs come from is what a lot of people are going to want to know.
Okay. Most of the logs will come from our own timber operations, but we do have a wood yard here on site where we buy wood from local people. And Ricky runs a wood yard also on top of the firewood, and he will pick out the nice pretty firewood and he'll set it out down on the wood yard and bring it up here. And then he makes his sorts with the, he runs a track knuckle boom with a grapple saw, and he'll make his sorts of different piles and put his wood where he needs it.
We're going to walk around part of the wood yard here with Ricky, who actually manages this part of the business. And I was curious about kind of his methodology on how he stacks, sorts, and otherwise, organizes the wood yard here. So tell us, we're looking at a couple piles in front of us, and tell us what we're looking at here.
Mixed hardwoods. It's mostly oak. It's a lot of hickory and stuff mixed in there.
I see a little hickory, yeah.
And we do, like Roy said earlier, we do a couple of hickory places for cooking wood and stuff like that. So we keep plenty of hickory here, but mostly oak. We do, oak is a big thing around here. People love it, and we try to keep plenty of it. We buy it on a scale, and then he's got his own crews where brings it in. I bring a knuckle boom up here on tracks, and even the guys bringing big trucks in, they'll drive them in up here and unload here, and that way it saves us time, moving stuff around, and keep it pretty close to the machine.
So you try to keep this area here open enough, wide enough so that big trucks can pull right up.
Come in here, yep, and even make a circle if you need a skid steer to work.
And is the skid steer what you're usually using to load the log deck?
Sometimes I use a skid steer, sometimes I use a knuckle boom.
Okay.
On tracks, yep.
So when you're stacking these logs, are you looking at the diameter of the logs in addition to the species, or is there any other kind of organization here that you're thinking about when you're stacking it?
I try to keep the dry stuff out, the drier or the dead fall wood. I'll separate it from the green wood.
Okay. But other than that, there's not
Other
really.
than that, no.
Yeah. All right, so just downhill from where the logs are and where the processor is, we've got two sections here. We actually have two small concrete pads. So I was going to ask Ricky about the organization here and how they kind of separate things out.
We got a lot of local people come in, pick up trucks, stuff. They'll come in and weigh in on the scale, and we sell it by the ton or by the hundred. And they'll back up here and get these piles out here and piles here also, or I'll pick it out, put it on the truck. I can load it, do it either or.
And is that what over there different than what's over here?
No, it's all the same.
We got two splitters over here, so tell me about kind of what you're using these splitters for versus what you're doing on the processor.
Occasionally we get a lot of chunks of smaller pieces, big pieces that won't go through the big processor. And we'll use these small hand where we can handle them by hand, or take a skid steer and come up here. We'll take a skid steer and bust the big pieces down, smaller, and then where we can handle them by hand and put them on these processors.
Roy, in addition to the timber business and the firewood business, you're also an equipment dealer for a couple different brands. So just kind of walk me through the different lines that you carry.
We have some firewood processing equipment from Timberwolf, Halverson, and Big Tool Rack, and we also have access to Striker wood splitters through our Woodmaster wood stoves. Oh, and we also have TM skid steer splitters, the inverted splitters that go on the front of the skid steer to bust the big stuff down smaller.
Just looking around here real quick, it looks like you have mostly like commercial grade equipment, but you do have a couple smaller kind of homeowner sized splitters I saw. So do you sell many to homeowners, or is it all more commercial stuff?
Most people want the commercial splitters. We have the smaller ones here, and we've sold a few of those, but it seems like when people come to look at the smaller one, they almost always go a step up and get a bigger one.
I guess that's a good problem.
I guess so.
All right, so Roy, Ricky, this is kind of one of those questions for guys like me who want to grow their firewood business. What kind of lessons learned could you share that got you, helped you to grow your business over the years, to go from whatever 100 to 500 to now 2,000 or more cords a year? What are some of the things that you would share?
Well, I guess it would start with the first real processor that I bought. It was an old bar and chain unit, a CTR brand bar and chain unit that I bought at auction, that and a conveyor. It had an open cab, and it was a great machine. I loved it. It was, I grew up cutting firewood with a chainsaw and splitter and conveyor, so to have a processor where you sit in the seat and move joysticks and load the truck was awesome. And that old thing would load a pickup in 10 minutes, and I just remember that was I just thought that was awesome. So I was able to run that, and we ended up with a 2.5 ton dump truck with a 16-foot bed, and I made sure I filled that truck up. Back then it was just me. I filled the truck up with a good load, so every time the truck went down the road, it was full, it looked good, and charged a fair price for good wood. And between that and being able to get the wood, that's the main thing. You got to have the main ingredient to put in the processor. Being able to get that was available through the logging, and advertising. I did a lot of advertising earlier on, and back then it was in the newspaper. I actually bought a billboard for a couple of years, and that was pretty much all I had to do. I didn't have to advertise anymore after the billboard. It was just a truck running down the road. And then it got to the point where I needed somebody to drive a truck because I didn't have time to do that. So I got a fella to drive the truck and make deliveries. He loaded the wood out of a pile. And then I didn't have time to run the processor either, so I had a boy to run the loader for me, Mike. He ran the processor for a long time, busted up a lot of wood, put it in the pile. And then it got to the point where I just decided I wanted to try a circle saw machine. So I traded the CTR machine for a circle saw. Then we got a bigger truck, and I do think the bigger truck is a big key to it also, because we sell a lot of wood in this rural area. We sell a lot of wood to people that actually do still heat with stoves. A lot of them are outdoor stoves, but a lot of them are still inside because it's still cheaper than electricity and gas or oil or fuel, right? Fuel oil. So I think the biggest thing probably is being able to deliver the size load that we deliver, because it's a very fair price for that, and people are always happy with the pile of wood that's on the ground after it's dumped. They
A lot of them, yeah, they'll say, man, I believe that's a lot of wood on that.
right, they do, yeah.
Yeah, and you told me to start.
Right.
To do when I started, that's the way I've always done it.
Sure.
Well, you told me to do it.
And Ricky fills the
Yeah.
truck up. We don't believe in keeping the firewood even with the sides. He rounds it up like he's supposed to, so people are happy when they see the load. And going down the road with that, I think we still put some on Facebook, I think, but almost never get any complaints. Even
we
people
always have the same every year, pretty
Right,
much,
and-
and then plus every year gains. More people tell people, and
so
yeah.
and Ricky we
It
have
works
repeat customers we've had for what, I don't know how long.
Long as I've been doing it, they
Right.
still call it, yeah,
Sure.
every year.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah. A lot of it's repeat customers. They'll call or text Ricky. He fixes them up, and a lot of times you'll sell a load of firewood, putting fuel in the truck, or stopping and getting a drink or
Mhm.
something. You'll sell a load of wood
Yeah.
there. I would have to say that being able to haul a big load in our area, that makes people the happiest. I mean, some people, one load will last them 2 winters. Some people buy 3 or 4 loads a winter, depending on the size of the
Outdoor
house.
guys buy a lot.
Right,
Just
out,
buy
yeah,
more, so,
that's true. So,
yeah.
I would, yeah, that, and you gotta have the main ingredient. You gotta be able to get the wood, of course. But I would say the big truck would be the main thing.
So for the guys who say getting the wood is their challenge, what suggestions would you have for somebody to source the main ingredient, as you say?
Well, most of the time, for whatever reason, it seems like the tree guys, like I would say, like the bucket truck guys that take trees down out of people's yards, very few of those guys actually want to fool with firewood. They just want to get rid of the trees that they got paid to take down. That's a good way to get a lot of firewood. The downside to that is you get a lot of big chunks and stuff that aren't going to go through a process.
I was just saying, you get a lot of yard trees and a lot of limbs,
Yes,
and
you do.
yeah, not processor grade stuff. But
Right.
I've gotten a little bit of that over time. But I agree. What if I want to get my hands on processor grade logs? How do you go about it?
Well, if you can catch loggers who have a way to deliver it on a dump truck or a truck that has its own knuckle boom, that's a good way to do it. Especially the way things are now, the paper mills are full. It's hard to get rid of pulpwood. Now's as good a time as any, especially in the springtime or approaching summer, to be able to get wood from loggers who are on quota and don't have enough quota to haul what they produce. And if you can find the right one, find several of those, you could accumulate some wood.
Well, big thanks to Roy and his wife Michelle and Ricky for showing us the yard here. One thing I'll say here in closing, if I can kind of get this out in a way that's clear, is that even though this business is well established, does huge volumes, been around for a long time, has all the highly productive equipment, there's some things that even Roy is just figuring out. For example, he wants to start doing more recreational firewood. So he's got this load of totes here. He's gonna take it out to his first campground customer. And he said he wants to explore doing more cookwoods and other small volume products. So I think, you know, that just goes to show you've got to be open-minded in this business, in any business, to look for opportunities to either grow your business in general or opportunities to take market share in whatever market you're in. And you know, for Roy, doing more of the bundles and more of the packaged products and serving campgrounds seems like an opportunity for him, because he really hasn't done any of that at all. I got to make the 2-hour drive back home, but thanks for spending a little bit of time with me today, guys. I appreciate it. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.